Soulless dead. Brotherhood. Chapter 8. 3 Fires. We sat at our posts, sweating bullets. We looked behind us, but we could see everybody and their family moving around like ants in a well-orchestrated movement. They all knew exactly what they were doing, grabbing boxes. They were panicked and still yelling at each other. "Everybody be quiet," one of the women said. "We just need to get things done, get it out like we've drilled before. We need to get the heck out of here. We're overrun. 3 fires means we're overrun." I looked over at Sam, who was guarding one of the front windows with us. "We need to get the heck out of here. I hope that train has plenty of fuel." My dad started. "We have plenty of fuel, we just need to get to it. Let's just hope none of the people in the town siphoned any of the fuel out." No, there were people guarding it after we left, I'm sure. No one's going to be messing with it. Well, let's just hope we make it there first." "It's a gamble." Trenton's father came up and said, "I just hope you boys are right." All of a sudden, a few of the dead began to make their way into the front of the yard. 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then more and more. They began to make their way towards the window. We began to fire shotguns. "Aim for the upper body. Most of the pelts will hit them in the head. Wait till they get within a decent range." A few of them began to advance forward. I shot in haste. It hit it in the shoulder. It fell over, but then again began to crawl forward as its arm barely hung on. "Aim when they get closer," said Trenton. "We can't afford to waste these shells." "Take it easy, that's my son," my dad started. "You don't understand. We need to be conservative here. We shouldn't be wasting ammo. Take another shot, kid, but don't take one if you don't know if you can hit it." Okay, I said, breathing heavily. "I haven't shot one of these much. This thing kicks like a mule." Sam said. "Typical New Yorker." "This is no time to laugh," Trenton said. "It's fine, we got this. Let's just keep it up. Phalanx. We'll shoot, and then you boys shoot as we reload, okay?" "Kind of like the British," I said. "Whatever, who cares?" More of them began to show up. They got closer this time. We all fired a volley. And then another, and then another. "All right, we're reloading," as they stood back. They got closer to us. My dad shot and was able to pick off a few of them, but I was missing, hitting them in the stomach, knocking them over. One of them got shot and burst like a bubble. The heat had gotten to him and swole up really bad. The smell was horrible and it sprayed everywhere. Luckily, I was able to duck behind what part of the window that was still there. It splattered everywhere. "Oh my God!" I held my nose, but it was just too late. I began to vomit everywhere. The taste of putrid bile filled my mouth, and the smell of it was in the air as thick as it could be. "Son, this is no time," he grabbed me by the arm. "Raise up and shoot these things." One of them had gotten close. It began to crawl through the glass as the broken glass began to cut into its hands and into its flesh, tearing it open. Trenton grabbed it by the collar and pulled it down. Its head hit the ground immediately. He stuck the blade in the back of its head several times until it quit moving. "Here, pile this dead up against the glass. The glass should hold it in. It's dug into the skin. We'll use them as a wall, if you will. Just conserve the ammo. We'll do this." My dad pulled out his knife, not without me. We looked back. "How close are we to being done?" The family said, "We almost have everything. Just hold them off." It was still a matter of our group. The family started rallying them to help them. They were carrying things out to the garage and loading them into trucks. "What are we going to do? Just watch." The dead began to start to come through the window. They hacked at their heads and began to chop them. They started falling over. "Their bodies will start to stack up. It'll slow them down just enough." Dead began to pile up, 3 on 3. It was a small dead wall, and the smell was horrible. The smell of soiled pants and sweat and disgustingness began to fill the air. It was putrid. They were fighting with their shirts over their mouths. "Don't get any of the blood in your mouths. We don't know what can happen," my dad said. "All right, that's it. We have everything. There's still some coming, though. Don't worry about it. We'll escape through the garage. You guys follow behind the trucks as we plow through them, get to the pickup truck, and be safe." His dad came up to him. "Be safe, son." Trenton said, I will be. I will be." We made our way out as we pushed the couch against the dead pile, but it was starting to give way to them starting to pour through the house. We made our way out to the garage and the truck started. As soon as the garage doors flew open, some of the dead tried to crawl through, but the trucks plowed them out of the way. "Down towards the track, towards the old bridge." "Okay," we yelled. We piled into the pickup truck as more of them started to show up. As we climbed in, a few of them had grabbed at a couple of people that we knew. Yanking them out, they started to eat them. Trent and Sam tried to stop them. "Forget about it! Forget about it," we said. Trevor was holding them off with a hammer, bashing their heads in. "Forget about them! We need to move!" Their screams were horrible. Forgetting about them or not, we could hear them, asking for help. Trent and Sam didn't know what to do as a mortified look came across their face. They slowly backed their way towards the truck. As Sam began to open the driver's side door, it began to reach through the rolled-down window as it was opened. He grabbed its arm and pinned it, and then snapped it. The creature growled and began to chomp at him. He took the butt of his machete and bashed its head in, and then stuck the blade through the top of its head, letting go of the blade. "We don't have time to retrieve it. Let's get out of here." He turned on the truck, and we slammed on the gas. We almost fell out of the back of the pickup truck as we lurched forward. The other trucks were moving a little slower and we finally picked up. We made our way to the train. It was parked. There were people running all over, and there was a small campfire being stomped out by the dead wandering around everywhere. We got out of the trucks and we made our way out. "Hey, you're a group of truck people? Guard us. We need to get the supplies onto the train." Trevor made his way to the front of the train. "Can you guys give me a few minutes?" Me, Sam, Trent, and my father made our way to the front, while the others fought off the other waves around. Trenton and Sam's family did a good job of loading the stuff into the back, but we had the daunting task of getting the diesel engine to turn. Sometimes they could start pretty quick, but sometimes they'd take a while to warm up. We didn't know if it was going to be one of those days. The engine actually finally turned over. It was still warm from the afternoon. Thank God. Trevor sat back in his chair. The Zed began to climb on towards the front of the engine and try to pull through the broken glass of the front door. Trent and Sam began to hack at them and push them away with what they could find. Trent pulled out a shotgun and began to blast them off the front of it. "Throttle it down," he said. "We need to get the hell out of here." My dad began to reinforce them, pulling out his handgun that he had stowed away on the train, shooting him in the head and knocking him off. "If we stand out on the platform, we can keep them from getting on here. We don't need them getting into this cab." "Okay, fine," they said. They pushed the door open and a few of them fell off the top. They were stabbing in all directions with what they could find. Sharpened sticks that we had left on the ground just outside the train had helped. "What do I do?" Trevor said. "I need you to turn on these systems right here. Try and turn off the... I don't know. Just stand there, okay?" He was frustrated. He pushed the throttle forward. Black smoke poured out of the top of the stack. We could hear the massive diesel engine roar as we began to lurch slowly forward. The engine roared as we began to move, and the dead were getting caught underneath the train. Slowly, but they were being crushed like grapes underneath a foot. The smell was absolutely atrocious. "Are we ready to go yet?" As they started to climb their way up the platform to get inside the train. "We're good to go!" Trent and Sam were still on the ground outside with my father as the train moved slowly forward, helping others into the train. "Is that everybody?" Trenton's dad called out, "Yes, that's everybody. We didn't lose anybody and all the supplies are on." "All right." They began to trot their way up towards the front and hopped onto the train and made their way into the cab. Covered in blood and exhausted and completely out of breath, they high-fived each other as they sat around inside the engine. I looked out the window and all I could see was horror. The bonfires were the only thing we could see, and around them was nothing but a horror scene as the dead were chewing people apart and ripping them up. The darkness was our only friend. The three fires that we could see people running around with shotguns and holding them off as if they were holding down the Alamo. The darkness held nothing but bad things for them as they advanced in the blackness of the night. They would fire and fire, muzzle flashes in the darkness. We would see one muzzle flash at a man's level, and then another on the ground, and then we'd see nothing. We could hear people screaming, and others smacking up against the train trying to let us in, but we couldn't stop for anybody. I looked back and I could see the door opening on the side of the train, trying to pull some people in. One of the women tried to get on, but The dead dragged her back off and killed her. I winced and closed my eyes, and my dad pulled me away from the window. You don't need to see any of that. Sit down. We began to drive and drive and drive, and we eventually picked up speed, and we made our way down south. Luckily, the computers on board were able to change the switches on the road. As we drove through the south part, through the Flint Hills, it was nothing but darkness, black. The power was out on most of the roads, so it was just nothing but shadows of rolling hills and nothingness. In a way, I could parallel it to my hope. I was gonna die in a place where nobody cared, everything was mind-boggling. I was gonna die in a barren place, forgotten. It was either stay in New York and be eaten to death by mobs, or die here of no food, no friends, nobody knowing you. On what, a hunch? I started at my dad. What are we doing out here? Why didn't we just stay in the apartment? Son, you don't understand. No, I understand just fine. Now we're in the middle of country bumpkin nowhere, in the middle of the Flint Hills or wherever the hell, and now we're making our way down to a place that might not exist. Son, my dad said as he raised his hand to me, you need to relax. No! I sloughed his hand off. We're with a bunch of people we don't know, making our way south, but God knows where. What if Wichita's overrun? What if Rose Hill or wherever the hell these guys' dead friend is at? Hey, Sam said as he started at me. We don't know that he's dead, and you don't know that this place is overrun. There's a big military presence there. You need to grow up, kid. You don't think we didn't just lose something? Half those people we knew. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry you knew in your town didn't know shit about you. You were just another number there. Those people were our family. Try to have a little more respect. My dad was silent. I looked at him to try and start in my favor, but he didn't. I guess I really was the one in the wrong. Sam took a deep breath, and Trent put his shoulder around him. It's gonna be alright, man. We're fine. Little punk needs to learn how to shut his mouth. He was right. I took a deep breath, and my dad said, I love you, son. He tried to pull me in for a hug, but I just went over to the corner of the train and just sat down. I hid my face from them, and I tried not to show them, but I started to cry. The rumbling of the engine was loud, but it lulled me into sleep. I didn't dream. I just sat there, crying in my sleep. Why me? Why does this have to happen? Is there really any hope? Is there anything I can cling to? God forbid the train breaks down and we're in the middle of the Flint Hills where nobody is. That's the last thing we need. And now we've got more people. Now we won't have as many supplies. What if we starve? What if we don't have enough water? What if these people turn against us and take all of our stuff and leave us here in the middle of the sea of grass, for God's sakes? My dad doesn't understand. He's so set on going to Wichita, this hub of safety, this Noah's Ark. He doesn't even know. I may not have lost as much, but at least I haven't lost my common sense. Who are we going to meet up with? Their long-lost friend that they haven't seen? Who's to say he isn't one of those shamblers walking around with a bunch of swords and knives and guns? I thought to myself sarcastically. Eventually, I relaxed. I wiped my tears off and looked back at my dad, Sam, and Trenton. Sam and Trenton were asleep. My dad was talking to Trevor quietly, trying not to wake any of us, believing I was probably asleep. I quietly grabbed a blanket that was sitting in the corner. I rolled it over me and I rolled towards the wall. I really hope something comes of this. I really hope we're okay. Because if we're not, we're no better off than Perry. We're no better off than New York. We're no better off than anything. Three fires. That's all it took to screw up on it. A well-oiled machine, I thought, before I drifted off. Can we even prepare for this? Is that even possible? I don't know. I just try not to think about it.